The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television.
Thanks and welcome to Compass, a new program from Pioneer Public Television looking at public issues throughout our viewing area. Thanks for joining us. This week on Compass, a look at worksite wellness. It's a topic many people might not be familiar with, but it's important and is changing lives all across our viewing area. Here's a report from Pioneer's Laura K. Prosser.
Worksite wellness is a movement that is becoming more and more prevalent in today's workplaces. Mandated by the Minnesota Department of Health to impact obesity and tobacco usage in the workplace, people like Karen Nitskorsky are working with businesses like Midwest Bank in Detroit Lakes to create worksite wellness programs.
We can really go in and work with a workplace and say, what is your environment like, and are there some things that we can help you change so that you can help make your employees better or more healthy? And for them, why it's so important is they can increase productivity, they can decrease absenteeism, they can increase morale. They could be the employer of choice by saying, here we are, a company that cares about our employees, that we want them to be well and we're supporting wellness. Now, many of these companies, wellness isn't their core business, but they will find that they'll reap benefits if they really invest in wellness, mainly with time.
But what does worksite wellness really mean?
The top 4 prevalent health risks that we see in work sites, number 1 is lower back pain. And then the other 3, one is diabetes, one is hypertension, and another is depression. Recently it's come out that sitting is the new smoking, and how many of us sit all day long. And so if we can put things in place that really help the health of employees and employers, then we can really impact the health of our citizenry. Now I'll give an example of a work site in Detroit Lakes that has 100% participation in their Healthy Snack program. What they did is they bought a nice, very attractive looking refrigerator with a glass front, and in that refrigerator they have salads and they have yogurt and cheese sticks, and then beside that they have some dry goods but some healthy like nuts and pretzels and granola bars, and they have 40 employees, and they would say that they have 40 employees using that snack station. Wow. So that's an excellent participation rate. And not everybody can have that, but there's an example of, you could consider that 100% participation.
Minnesota is actually a part of a statewide health improvement plan, or SHIP, S-H-I-P.
The legislature back in 2008 appropriated some funds to really impact the health of their citizens. In the last 2 years, we've had 540 businesses participate in our worksite wellness program. And those kinds of numbers we're starting to reap benefits, and we're noticing that the health of Minnesotans is better than all the other surrounding states. So if you're a business and you want to start a worksite wellness program, I would really recommend that you reach out to your public health and say, I've heard that there's this statewide health improvement program called SHIP that might be able to help us.
But there are other local programs connected to fitness studios and insurance vendors.
Oftentimes your local YMCA might have a worksite wellness program, or even maybe your chamber might have a worksite wellness program. You can look towards your health insurance vendor. So if you have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota, there's a lot of things in place that they can help you with, or Health Partners, or really any of the big insurance companies in the state of Minnesota will have some kind of worksite wellness program. But we really come in and work SHIP, statewide health improvement program really comes in and walks along with the company for 14 months to really start them on their way to developing a comprehensive program.
Midwest Bank's Human Resource Manager, Laverne Maltzan, is a member of Midwest Bank's Worksite Wellness Committee. She has found firsthand that a business has to practice what it preaches when it comes to healthy behavior.
To Midwest Bank, Worksite Wellness is important because we believe that it's a statement that we really care about our employees. You will hear Worksite Wellness promoted because of the fact that obviously that it reduces healthcare costs, it gives a better quality of life, it raises productivity, and it raises morale in the workplace. But our primary reason is we're doing this because we believe it's the right thing to do and that we truly do care about our employees. The very first year that we had an active wellness committee, we gave every employee the opportunity to do an online health assessment. After they did that health assessment, they got a 10-page report back that only they saw personally, and then they had the opportunity to meet with a registered dietitian on the telephone. And that we had 67% of our people who participated in that. Just within the last couple of years, we really have tried to have a focus on having fun at work. We all know how many hours we spend at work and that sometimes it can be stressful. So the Wellness Committee has really taken on a little bit of a focus this last couple of years in promoting fun at work.
The bank's and committee's efforts are basically emphasized by the events or challenges, speakers, or training that they plan as programming for that year. One such event was this year's Corporate Clashers.
What they do is that they have companies bring in teams and they actually compete against each other. There's a swimming event and there's a stationary bike event, but there's also activities that because they involve maybe 6 people working together as a team. For instance, we had to walk on boards, which is harder than what you think before you do it. It's a real team building opportunity for companies too, and again, just absolute fun.
So, what's next for Midwest Bank's efforts in worksite wellness?
Our wellness program is ongoing. We have already established our programming for next year, which I think is kind of unique. We are going to have an emphasis on gratitude. And someone may say, gratitude, what does that have to do with wellness? But there are studies that have been done that show the positive effect that that not only has on you mentally, but also physically. What we're trying to accomplish is to be able to support our employees in all aspects of wellness.
With us in studio now to talk more about worksite wellness are a couple of folks who work in the field. Thanks to both of you for joining us. First, I'd like to introduce Brittany Nelson, who is with the Lake Region Healthcare. All right, Brittany, and you're in Fergus Falls, right?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. And Heidi Mason is with the Center for Fitness, and you're an aquatics coach, right? And that's in Detroit Lakes?
In Detroit Lakes.
Yeah, great. Thanks for joining us. So during the break, we talked a bit about worksite wellness, and I said, a lot of people aren't even familiar with the topic because they may think wherever they worked, there wasn't a worksite wellness program. So this is really a new thing for a lot of people. So tell us, what's worksite wellness mean to the two of you? Why don't we start with you, Brittany? What is worksite wellness really?
Well, I think worksite wellness is just encompassing the whole employee. I mean, every aspect of the employee's well-being. Really, it's just to create an environment in the workplace so the employee can participate in healthy activities to promote wellness.
Yeah. Heidi, what for you?
Yeah, promoting health and wellness within within your business. Whether it's implementing a wellness program for your employees, or just creating that environment within a healthy way and implementing a program for them to create a healthy environment for them employees.
Yeah. Now, of course, for many people, let's say if they've been retired and they may have retired before worksite wellness was even around, they're thinking, well, this is a little unusual. Why would companies want to do this? That's a big question for a lot of people, I suppose, is why do companies even start this?
I feel that one of the biggest things with worksite wellness right now is people spend more time at their employer than they do at home with their families. They do, sleeping, eating, whatever it may be. You're at your job for 8 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week. and the health and wellness of these employees is a big deal. You know, it's very important for these employers because they're spending more time at their job, you know, than they are anywhere else.
And I think just the day-to-day tasks of an individual when they get home from work, it's getting the kids home from daycare, making supper, doing homework, and then trying to get to bed at a decent time every day. There's little to no time for physical activity to get that in, so fitting it into the workday, it just seems like it makes sense.
Yeah. Is there some additional urgency too? I mean, just based on research or what we're hearing in the news about the effects of a sedentary lifestyle, or the idea that the more hours you spend in a chair in a given day, the more likely you are to have problems. I mean, we're hearing, at least I've heard more research reports about that in the last few years. Does that seem to be adding some urgency to your work?
I think so. There's a lot of new studies that are coming out that show that the sedentary behavior is leading to more chronic conditions just related to obesity because people aren't moving a lot. And when you think about it, if you're at your desk for 8 hours a day, you're not getting up and moving as much as you should be. So creating workstations that are elevated so employees have the option to sit or stand and just to have walking routes around your facility are all good ideas just to try to get some activity in throughout the day.
Yeah. I want to pick up on that a little bit because you talked about, you know, the workstation, and many people who are in a very traditional workplace might not even realize in the last few years, if you go into an office, oh, what is this? It's a desk that goes up and down, right? I mean, it's kind of a strange idea for people, right, to get used to.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it is, you know, that's a big change that a lot of companies are going with, especially those businesses where you are sedentary and sitting all day long, and that same repetitive motion to stand up is wonderful. And you know, they're saying right now that sitting is the new smoking. That's what they're saying. Well, that is horrible, you know. So giving that option to be able to stand up throughout the day, and like Brittany said, walking around and getting that option available to be able to get up and move takes away that, even leads to that back pain, you know. So changing that up a little bit for the employees is a big deal. It's huge.
Well, it's right when you say change it up, some of these things, you know, there are as we saw in the story, there are sort of the larger things, which is maybe you've got people on the extra cycle and they're in T-shirts and they're working hard and getting the heart rate up. But there's actually some fairly simple things, right? Like even remembering setting your alarm to get up once an hour to walk for 5 minutes, right? What are some of the simple things that you're seeing people doing for workplace wellness?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest changes that I'm noticing working with businesses is something simple, like you said, is changing the food. The nutrition side of things, I think, is easy. It's an easy change. Taking the donuts, going back to the concept of taking the donuts out of the break room. When you have, you know, the workplace birthday party or meetings, maybe give that healthy option of, instead of just cake, you have fruit and vegetables, or, you know, instead of the pizza, you have the option of a salad. I think that's a common change I'm seeing a lot, and an easy one. You know, it's pretty simple for them to make that nutrition change as well, along with that fitness.
A lot of things is just with the environment that the employees are in on a day-to-day basis. Like you mentioned, just even with vending machines, what are you offering in your vending machines for employees? Do you have healthy options available? And if not, that's one small area or small change that you could focus on just to increase healthy eating.
Yeah, healthy snack stations. Snack stations are a popular one right now. So yes, giving those options that are available, because it becomes almost that snowball effect. If it's available, you're going to take it, and you have no choice. So if someone sees somebody else grabbing something healthy, they're going to probably follow along and have that available for them.
Yeah, or on a smaller scale, you may have people who stock a refrigerator with something healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
really
it's a smaller amount.
Yep, and you really just want to make the healthy choice the easy choice.
Yes.
So just to create the environment in which you're doing that, I mean, it's going to make it a lot easier for employees, and then again, they're making that healthy choice.
Yeah. I want to get back to something you said earlier, because I know you talked about that, you know, sitting is the new smoking, because I mean, that's a fairly dramatic statement, and I've heard it as well. But for a lot of people who may not have heard those reports, they're saying, wow, you know, what does that really mean? And you, sir, if you don't have the sort of desks that you can raise up and down, if you don't have a new desk, let's talk about that a little bit more, because, of course, with tech careers, and you have so many people who spend so much time in front of a screen, and then they go home and spend more time in front of the screen. You know, what are some other ways that you can think of for people to actually get into an idea of maybe not sitting all the time?
Yeah.
Right?
You know, I think that one of the options that I see a lot of employers doing is giving the option of breaks. Getting up, you know, instead of going to the break room, sit down on your break, get up and go for a walk. Follow, you know, bring another coworker with you and go for that walk on your break instead of sitting down. Moving is such a big option, I think, for a lot of employees. So.
And of course, as I think about this, as I think of for many couples who are working at this, they may have very different jobs, and for one of them, worksite wellness is a completely foreign concept because they might be moving all day long.
Right.
You know, they might be in a very physical job, and so the idea that somebody has to move, they're thinking, oh, you know, I don't really understand this. So I mean, imagine in some couples, you may find dramatically different approaches to this when they come home, because one of them's moving all day, one of them hasn't been moving at all. So, you know, figuring out how do you incorporate that into your lifestyle must be a real challenge for folks as well.
We do have that at our facility because we have nursing staff, and then we also have office staff. So we do run into that. You know, how can we make sure that those employees that are moving all day also are getting the recommended physical activity, but also focusing on the stress part of it as well. So another important piece of it.
Sure. It strikes me too that I know this sort of thing was showing up in newspapers a few years ago as an urban-suburban trend because, of course, you have high concentrations in those areas of white-collar professionals working in high-tech industries. Tell me a little bit about you all, because you both work in relatively small towns, Fergus Falls and Detroit Lakes, about sort of the urban-suburban to rural transition, because it's being introduced more in rural areas than we would have seen before. Yeah. You know, so what has it been like as people get used to the idea in smaller towns? What are you hearing? Anything in particular?
I feel that it's kind of neat in a smaller town because the word spreads. So people start talking about it, and this company is doing such a great job with their employees and are doing worksite wellness, and the word spreads, and then they tell And I think that that's one thing that I find that is really neat, that it shows almost how much that employer cares about their employees, and that person wants to hear about what are you doing. And for example, going out, I myself going out to a company and helping them implement a program for worksite wellness, or offering a massage therapist to them or something like that. That sounds wonderful and intriguing. And then another company hears and wants to hear what they're doing.
Sure.
So.
And I expect are you also hearing from employers about the idea that, as they look at ways to recruit, retain, because we hear a lot about worker shortages, particularly in certain industries. Are you hearing more companies talking about that as well as you work with them?
I think employees are actually seeking out companies that are offering these types of incentives. They actually expect these types of things that you're offering to different employees.
I think they do too. I think that, one of the things that, these businesses are slowly taking on some of this worksite wellness. I think that if they're not already expecting in 3 to 5 years, if the business isn't doing worksite wellness, they're almost going to be in from the outside looking in. I mean, they're going to be the odd man out. It's going to be almost something that, as Brittany said, expected.
Yeah. And what about the generational piece here? Because I know when you talk about it, attracting employees, I expect that there's a certain generational shift that you've got millennial workers who are going to say, well, wait a minute, this is what my friends have in other workplaces, this is what I expect. So are you seeing some sort of generational expectations or differences there too? Younger workers versus middle-aged workers, some?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, again, that expectation of the younger workers, they're active and ready to go, and they're expecting to have that break where they can go for a walk or run to the gym over the lunch hour, or giving that availability for the health and wellness side of things.
I think the benefits of just healthy lifestyle is everywhere now, that people expect these things.
Health and wellness is almost a trend in itself.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
Well, I expect too, you have people who, if they come into the workplace, if you look at what's happened in colleges over the last 20 years, right? And I've been in some colleges now where the students come in and they say, well, gee, where's the climbing wall? Which is not a discussion that you would have had a generation ago. Yeah. And so there's an expectation that there are these things in the office, and that's what they do. Yeah. Let's look ahead a little bit. I mean, since workplace wellness is starting to get more attention, and you and your work are starting to hear more about it, what's next? What are the next phases for workplace wellness? What are the next sort of big things that people can, look ahead and say, oh, I think we're going to see more of this kind of thing in a workplace? Is there going to be more emphasis on, on the furniture and like the raising of the furniture? Is it going to be on the regular breaks? Any ideas of what might be ahead?
I think that's going to be a bigger trend with having the adjustability in the workstations, just because there's more and more research coming out about that there are so many benefits just to have that option. I think you're going to see a lot of policy changes too in organizations. Policies that support these changes, and that really creates the change and makes the biggest impact. So I think more and more organizations are going to be going to like the tobacco-free policy or flexible work schedules to allow for physical activity and things like that.
Implementing it into the policy, I think, I'm already seeing this, that it's just become a policy within their workplace, and I think that's a big deal for employees coming in and knowing this is just an expectation. The smoking policy is a big one, So kind of creating that environment, that healthy environment from here on out. I think that is.
So imagine that let's say there was someone who's watching the show now is a small business owner and they've got 10 or 15 employees and they say, oh, I haven't really thought about this before. Where do I start? Where should somebody start if they're a small employer? Any thoughts?
I think that, first, my take is that going from the top down, having that upper management support is huge. So once you get that, getting your feedback from your employers, obviously employees, I guess it depends on your environment and the workplace itself, but forming a committee, it always helps. You get a little bit of feedback from everybody. So kind of getting that committee together in a wellness group and committee and implementing it. And I feel, depending, in the rule, we discussed a little bit of what's available in your town. My position is coming in and helping, so maybe it's someone coming in and helping you implement if you're kind of, what do I do? How do I start this? Is it a 10,000 steps program or is it, something completely different? So I think that getting the help sometimes, just reaching out and finding someone that maybe can help you get it started is also a good idea.
Yeah. And what about on the other end of the spectrum? Let's say if you're an employee and your company doesn't have something, are there ways that an individual employee can sort of bring this along? Because it's always tough to introduce new ideas in the workplace. So how would you start that?
Just for employees, if you're interested in, having more options, I think even getting a walking group together with other people in your area or other people in your department is a good idea. You can schedule a walking group, and it's amazing how that kind of trickles down to other departments, and you'll see other, groups starting it too. So that's one idea, just to get people started on it.
Yeah, the walking program, and then a lot of businesses do weight loss challenges, and sometimes just starting something small themselves, it grows. All of a sudden you'll see it getting bigger and becomes almost an annual thing where every year they do that, or they walk every Monday together. And I think that's really neat. And that just shows that you don't have to have a huge budget to create wellness within your workplace.
It sounds like the shared goal thing gets to be very important.
Yes.
Where it's maybe an individual who says, well, I'm going to increase my physical activity by this much. And it may be just a matter of X number of minutes per day or X number of miles as opposed to the pounds or the other things that people are seeing, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So shared goals among employees, working on that seems to work really well?
Yes, I think it does.
Okay. Any advice you'd have for, for some other folks who are just, maybe they've tried workplace wellness or they've seen it, but maybe it hasn't really worked for them. Are there particular things that you've seen that have been more successful in workplace wellness sort of patterns than others?
I think the big thing is having that policy in place is helpful. Once you have that, you have your standard on how to go about things, and you can always refer back to that. So if something isn't working, you can look back at your policy and then evaluate and try something different. And I think also employee feedback is really important prior to starting anything. What areas are your employees interested in? You might think everybody wants to partake in physical activity, but maybe they don't have interest.
And I think that's exactly it. Is I think getting the employee feedback, maybe doing a survey or a poll. One company that I have worked with, they actually did that and found that each person chooses their own goal. And that's what they do. They each meet with an advisor and they choose their own goal, which I think that is wonderful. And then not every person is the same. They're all unique. So choosing their own goal and kind of moving forward with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the last couple of minutes we have left, I'd like to talk about where people can go to find out more information because, again, it's a topic they may not be familiar with. So any suggested resources people could draw on? Places they could look, perhaps their own workplace or perhaps a website, anything like that?
As for the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center has a worksite wellness program that offers out different options available where myself or somebody can come in and maybe it's teaching classes or a massage therapist on hand or it's a presentation on a good topic that is very informative, something like that. We are always available and can just reach out to the community center and help them out. And Partnership for Health is a wonderful option as well.
We also participated in Partnership for Health, and that was a great start to get us going on our worksite wellness program at Lake Region.
Yeah, so when you talk about Partnership for Health, so there are sort of regional collaborations or other sort of groups where people are getting together and trying to help each other advance wellness in the workplace together?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's both in Fergus Falls and in Detroit Lakes?
Yep, we did the collaboration.
Okay, great. Well, it's great that you traveled here to Pioneer Day from Fergus Falls and Detroit Lakes, and it's exciting to hear about all the changes and workplace wellness, because it's an emerging field, it's an exciting, and look forward to seeing what happens as we learn more about workplace wellness. So, Heidi, Brittany, thank you both for coming in today. I appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us on this episode of Compass. As you watch Compass, you can go online to catch up on episodes you may have missed. Go to our website, which is www.pioneer.org. And if you have any suggestions about future topics we could address on Compass, we'd love to hear about that as well. You could send your email to yourtv@pioneer.org or call us toll-free, 1-800-726-3178. I'm Les Heen, and thank you for watching this episode of Compass on Pioneer Public Television.